Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast, an outreach of Greater Works Christian Church here in Lancaster, California. I am your host, Robert Enos. If you like what you hear, visit us at gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Find the Table Flippers link, click on it, and you'll get to our merchandise. Now, get ready for a huge dose of truth and a huge dose of common sense.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, the hostessist with the mostessist. Hey, I'm here in, where am I? Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, at a beautiful resort. It's my wife's business trip, conference for these few days here in Puerto Vallarta. I got to tag along and just chill out and hang out and be with all of you. But I brought my microphone that connects to my phone. So if it doesn't sound as great as a quality as normal, please forgive me. I'm literally using a little microphone that just connects to my phone. So it's good, but it's not as good as if I'm sitting down in my studio trailer in front of a nice microphone. So you'll hear some things, maybe a little bit of wind, some people back here, maybe some music. But I'm doing my best with what I have at the moment. I want to talk to you about a couple of things, maybe a whole bunch of things. You know how it goes. I don't know what I'm going to touch upon. My wife's going to be back here in just a moment. She ran off to get something, but when she comes back, I'm going to pick her brain so that all of us together can see what a woman has to say about some of these issues. But I want to read you this. This is a very, very short article from Newsmax, and it was published, I believe, today. Let's see. Yes, Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. I believe that's today. Anyways, it's entitled Pro-Choice Group Backs 12 Democrats in the 2024 House Races. Again, let me read that again. This is the title of it. Pro-Choice Group backs 12 Democrats in 2024 House races. So just from the title of this very short article, it's interesting that this pro-choice group backs 12 Democrats. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've said over and over and over and over again that the Democrat Party is just wicked and evil. And honestly, this really shows this to be true. When a pro-choice, now I don't know why they say choice, because they really want to remove choice from us, and just, it's like if you don't choose abortion, you're choosing wrong. I mean, that's in their mind, but we'll go with it. Pro-choice, pro-baby murder. They are backing Democrats. Why? Because Democrats are the party of evil, the party of wickedness, the party of death, the party of murder. And in this case, baby murder. Of course they're going to back Democrats. They're not going to back the party of life. They're going to back the party of death. Let's just call it for what it is. They say pro-choice, and I say they're pro-baby murder, because that's what it really is. Anybody that's sick enough to choose to murder their own child, it's so weird to me that if you were to destroy an eagle's egg, the American bald eagle's egg, you can go to prison for a long time for that. The unborn, or I should say it like this, the unhatched baby eagle, if you destroy that egg, you can go to prison for a long time. But you destroy your own child, and you get celebrated by some of these groups, especially the Democrats. I mean, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that disgusting and sick? Well, of course it is. There was a meme that I saw recently. I believe it was yesterday, but nonetheless, this meme was Forrest Gump and sitting on a park bench like he did in the movie. And I might not be a smart man, but are you telling me that a virus or a bacteria on Mars is proof of life, but a heartbeat isn't? And it was making the point that you can have the heartbeat of a child in the womb, and they say it's not a living being. But a single-celled organism on Mars is suddenly the most exciting thing to a lot of people because it proves there was life on Mars. I mean, that's how disgusting and wicked the left-leaners are in this country. And the Democrat Party is all for it, which, again, back to this article, it just shows, once again, the wickedness of the Democrats. Now my phone shut down, and I have to open it up to get back to the article. Here we are. It says NARAL, N-A-R-A-L, all caps. I assume that's an acronym for some group or something, but nonetheless, Pro-Choice America, the oldest extant abortion rights advocacy group in the U.S., on Wednesday endorsed 12 Democrat lawmakers for the 2024 House elections. Nearly 1 year after the Supreme Court decision in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which overturned Roe v. Wade and returned the legality of abortion to the states. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to stop there and make my comment on this. I, on one hand, really appreciate that Roe v. Wade was overturned on the federal level and it was sent to the states. It's like it's a state issue. You guys worry about it per state. So on one hand, I'm happy with that because there's a lot of states that were ready to make some major moves on abortion. But I wish they just said, well, it's murder and it's illegal in all 50 states completely. But at least we got something. And these Democrats, these left-leaners, were freaking out that women, at least federally in that sense, weren't allowed to murder their babies. And they're still freaking out about this. So now this pro-choice group is standing with and pushing these 12 Democrats. Why? Well, in the hopes that they can get, at least in these 12 states, keep abortion, the murder of children, the murder of babies, legal, and even not just legal, but they want it acceptable and celebrated. That's what's even, it's perversion that goes beyond normal perversion. They want to celebrate the murder of children. I mean, think about that for just a moment. If this was puppies inside of the womb or outside of the womb, if this was puppies or kittens, everybody would be up in arms. These are human beings, ladies and gentlemen, human children. If it was almost any other animal, you go kill a porpoise, especially a baby porpoise or a baby whale, at least here in America, you would be hung out to dry, but you're celebrated if you murder your own child. Does that even make sense? I mean, I'm beside myself every time I think about this and the absurdity of it. It doesn't even make sense to me. Anyways, let's continue reading. Since the day Roe was overturned, voters proved without a shadow of a doubt they will come out and support abortion access and the candidates who are ready to fight alongside them, said NARAL Pro-Choice America President Minnie Timarahu. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. With the GOP doubling down on their out-of-touch policies, voters will be even more motivated to keep them out of office in 2024. We're proud to endorse the slate of leaders as the first endorsements of our 2024 electoral program. Ensuring that they are reelected is essential to taking back the U.S. House of Representatives and moving one step closer to passing into law legislation that will protect and expand reproductive freedom. Reproductive freedom. Isn't it interesting that when you talk about the word reproduction, that means there's in this case a mother and a father, or a man and a woman. They become parents when a baby is born. That's reproduction. It's production, it's reproduction. Ladies and gentlemen, look this up in the dictionary. You have to have something that is produced that you can call reproduced or reproduction. All right? That's just the way it works. There's no such thing as reproduction when you murder what you produced. So they're twisting words to try to take the sting, if you will, out of it, to make it sound more palatable and people don't think anything about it. It's just reproductive freedom, and then they get women especially standing up for their reproductive rights. No, it's the lack of production. It's the destruction of production is what they're really after. Ladies and gentlemen, I said this in a past episode that we've got to start capturing and retaking these words, these ideas and concepts, because the left is really, they take a word or they take a phrase or they take an idea or a concept and they tweak it and twist it to the point that it no longer means what it really supposed to mean. And then they apply it to themselves. A simple one is the word gay. Okay, now the word gay in a dictionary, at least it used to mean happy, happy-go-lucky, carefree, joyful, joyous, those types of things. But when there's so much abuse in the homosexual community, from homosexual to homosexual, and there's so much, suicide is very high, abuse very high, depression very high. Well, they hijacked that word. I don't know. Are they trying to convince themselves that they're happy and joyful? Or are they trying to convince the rest of us? Either way, it doesn't matter. They've hijacked a word, and they're misappropriating it and misusing it. Now, most people don't even want to use that word because of what it means in its present context. But it's supposed to mean happy, joyful, not depressed, not suicidal, not violent. So I just use that as an example, but there's so many things, even like this, ladies and gentlemen. Here's one that a lot of people don't want to touch, but I'm going to touch it because that's what I do. BLM, Black Lives Matter. Now, before anybody goes off on some, calling me a racist and everything, just get over yourself. Black Lives Matter as a concept, there's great truth, there's total truth in it. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Of course, that's not even an argument in my book with me. But the organization, Black Lives Matter, is completely and totally wicked, because they weren't really after helping black folks, because they literally gathered billions of dollars through that organization. Billions of dollars was funneled into that organization. And you can't tell me one thing that the organization, Black Lives Matter organization, did for black lives. At least nothing positive. But even still today, we're supposed to be celebrating this wicked organization, not the concept of Black Lives Mattering. Of course they do. But you see how they threw that in there so that anybody that questions it, anybody that says something different, I'm speaking about an organization, but there'll be a lot of people out there that are going, oh, you just hate black people. I said nothing about that. Do I really, you could even say this word, hate that organization? Yes, because it destroyed a lot of people's lives. It was based in lies. It was based in deception. And it cost a lot of people a lot of not just finances, but their heart, their time, their efforts, their energy over something that was, well, again, just wicked and falsehood. But again, before anybody goes off and starts saying he hates black people, no, I don't. Get over yourselves. Anyways, let me finish this. And I'm just going to read the names because it ends with just the name. This article ends with just the names of the people that this group is supporting, all Democrats. The lawmakers are Mary Peltola of Alaska. And, before I finish reading it, I'm reading this because if you live in any one of these areas, you'll know who not to vote for. Because not only are they Democrats, you shouldn't be voting Democrat because it's absolutely, wicked. Again, back to Forrest Gump. There was a line in Forrest Gump, stupid is as stupid does. Let me change that just a little bit for this context. Evil is as evil does. If you vote Democrat, have voted Democrat, or typically vote Democrat, the question I would have for you is what in you is drawn to the wickedness and the evil in them? Well, I don't believe. I've had Democrats tell me, well, I'm not for abortion at all. But there is no but. What evil in you resonates with the evil they portray? That's the question I have for all of you who claim to be Democrats or claim to be liberals. Vote that way. I'll say it again. What evil in you resonates with the evil of the Democrat Party? So I'm going to read these names, and I hope and pray that you have a pencil or a pen. You can re-listen to this and write it down. If you live in any one of these areas, write these names down. This is who you should not vote for, okay? Because this pro-baby murder group is saying, we want these people in because they're going to fight for us. Mary Patola of Alaska, Mike Levin of California, Yadira Caraveo of Colorado, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, Johanna Hayes of Connecticut, Nikki Budzinski, and Eric Sorensen of Illinois, Sharice Davids of Kansas, Jared Golden of Maine, Hillary Schulten and Dan Kildee of Michigan, Angie Craig of Minnesota, Wiley Nickel of North Carolina, Chris Pappas of New Hampshire, Gabe Vasquez of New Mexico, Susie Lee and Stephen Horsford of Nevada, Pat Ryan of New York, Greg Landsman and Emily Sykes of Ohio, Andrea Salinas of Oregon, Susan Wild and Chris DeLuzio of Pennsylvania, Abigail Spanberger of Virginia, and Kim Schreier of Washington. So those, ladies and gentlemen, are the people you should not be voting for because, well, like I said, stupid is as stupid does, evil is as evil does. This wicked organization, pro-choice baby murder group, says we want these people in office, and they want them in office for a reason, because like begets like, birds of a feather flock together. Evil is as evil does. There's no reason why you and I have to join in on their wickedness. And how do you do that? When you vote for them. So you want to stay clean, you want to stay pure, you want to stay free. It starts by just simply not voting for them. Okay, I just want to start with that because that just caught my eye. And I know you might be thinking, well, you know, that's so far off. 2024, I'm not going to worry about it right now. Trust me, the time will fly. It's already middle of June. Well, actually, closer to the end of June. I mean, we're halfway through the year, ladies and gentlemen, already. It'll be 2024 before you know it. So we really need to be on top of these things and really need to be figuring this out. But that was just my segue, an important segue, but my segue into another thing that's really something that's big on my heart, what I like to talk about a lot because, well, it's just something that's extremely needed, and that's men taking the rightful place as men. And we see this, we've had this issue where men just were not being masculine. They were afraid to. When I say Fred, I'm not saying hiding in the closet. Hiding in the closet. Men, it's time to come out of the closet. I'm saying that with so much coming against men, and you know, you show any kind of toxic trait, automatically you're I shouldn't say toxic trait, masculine trait, automatically you're toxic. And that's not true. Masculinity, true masculinity, is never toxic. Okay, you've heard me say that before, but I want to say it again. True masculinity is never toxic. As a matter of fact, true masculinity protects the people around them, especially women and children, protects them from what is toxic. And we see a lot of toxic foolishness in our culture today, and real men need to rise up and stand against what truly is toxic. And you know, toxic is a poison. The poison that's being pushed onto our kids, onto our wives. I mean, come on, think about it. When you have these men dressed as women who will do like pole dancing kind of, what do they call it? Not a skit, but pole dancing and things of that nature for children. That's a perversion that true men need to stand up and say enough is enough. Let me give you just a bit of an example of this. And I probably should have found this article and read it as well. There was an article that I just caught. It was actually, I'm sorry, it was a video that I caught. It was just a very short video, and it showed some camera images of high schoolers fighting. And this was a high school, I believe, in Louisiana. And they had so many fights in this school, and they just didn't know what to do with it. Kids were just lashing out and fighting one another, big, huge fist fights. Sometimes it'll be 2 going at it. Sometimes it'll be 20 kids going at it. But nonetheless, there was all these fights breaking out in this high school. And they finally were able to bring it to an end. And this is how they did it. One of the fathers, a dad, a man showing some slightly masculine traits, stood up and said, enough's enough. He formed a group of other dads who would go to the high school, and they would go in shifts. So, if I remember correctly, there's somewhere in the neighborhood about 40 dads agree to do this, and they would go, maybe 5 at a time, 10 at a time, whatever. And they were there when the kids were coming in, when the kids were going home, when they're having lunch, recess, whatever it is. They were on the campus, and they were monitoring their own children or other people's children. Some of those young men and young ladies in that school didn't have fathers at home, so they were type of surrogate fathers on the campus. And they had some videos showing them of, high-fiving the kids as they're coming in, giving them the fist bumps and the knuckle bumps. But just their presence alone stopped the fighting. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear that. Just the presence of fathers, of men, being masculine, being men, stopped all the crazy actions and stopped the fighting in this high school just by them showing up. And they were interviewing the guy who put it together and interviewing some of the dads, and they just said, we got tired of it. So we're just going to come and we're going to do and he says, we're going to do our job as fathers and our job as men. And it stopped all the violence on this campus. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see, that's masculinity. Not toxic, not harmful, not destructive, but that is masculinity. Protecting absolutely every young person on that campus from being bullied, from being harassed, being beat up, simply by being there and being a good example and standing strong with these other men. Now, some might say, well, what if a fight broke out? Would those guys get involved and, start throwing kids around? I would hope so. But that would be the last-ditch effort. Just their presence was bringing peace to that campus. See, that's masculinity. That's what men do. Now, what got me thinking about all of this is I was at the gym earlier today, trying to get out of my dad bod and into a rad bod. Is that even a word today? My wife's just sitting across from me, shaking her head with a smirk on her face. Is it working?
Yes, dear. Yes, totally.
See, yes, dear, totally. She said that snidely, but it's okay. I still love the woman. But anyways, I'm at the gym, and between sets, I was just flipping through. I came across it was a little meme, actually, just a little meme, and it said, with all the attention on the supposed Pride, right? Pride Month, June Pride Month. I don't know what they have to be proud of, but whatever. June is actually Men's Mental Health and Awareness Month. I didn't even know that. I did not know that. And what was strange about that, after I stopped and I paused and I looked at that and I thought about it for a minute, I just flipped through and I was scrolling through, just trying to catch my breath for my next set. There was about 3 or 4 more memes or little video clips that came up on Men's Mental Health and Awareness Month, being June. And one of them was, a guy says, I didn't even know. With all of what's going on out there with the supposed pride and rainbows, I didn't even know it was Men's Mental Health and Awareness Month. He says, now, if this was Women's Mental Health and Awareness Month or the LGBTQ community, Mental Health and Awareness Month, we'd all know about it. But why doesn't anybody know that it's Men's Mental Health and Awareness Month? He says, well, number one, because real men don't talk about it like that. Even though maybe we should, we just don't talk about it. We're going through a struggle and nobody really wants to hear us. We tend to, right or wrong, keep it inside so we can do our best to remain strong. Everybody else is allowed to break down, but real men are not. And I'm not suggesting that we should. Guys, I'm not suggesting that we should. What I am suggesting is maybe we should start talking about it amongst ourselves. One reason I love going to the gym is not only am I working out my physical body, but with the conversations that I have with my gym bros and things like that. And it's not just the gym, but it's a great place where I can go to, well, almost every day if I want to. Man, it really takes a lot of pressure off of me mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I'm getting physically stronger as well as emotionally and mentally stronger. It makes me a better man all the way around. You know, I don't know about the rest of you guys. I like to shoot guns. I love to shoot guns. I love guns. I like to go and, as I would say, hey, let's go blow something up. Really, I mean, just shoot at a target and punch a little hole in it. A lot of people don't understand why so many men enjoy those types of things. It's a way that we can, in a controlled way, blow off some steam, get our mental health back, laugh with one another, joke with one another, talk with one another. We're out there in a place that's far away from most people, very few guys out there, and we can just be ourselves, unwind, let ourselves go for a few minutes, and become better for it all the way around. I like going camping with the guys, especially of our church. Same reason. It really allows us time to unload, unwind, and be men, and not have to worry about anything else, and just let go, blow off some steam, so to speak. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not doing anything bad. We're not doing anything wicked. We're just being guys, laughing with one another, and usually at one another, and having a good time. But I said all that to say this. I was been wanting to talk more about some of the characteristics and things that males can do to be a little bit more masculine. And one of the things that just keeps coming up to me is get into the gym. Now, I'm not saying this because I want to see a bunch of muscle heads out there. That's not necessarily what I'm going at. I'm saying this because when you go to the gym, especially when you go with some friends or you make friends at the gym, I love my gym. It's called Interchamber, CrossFit Interchamber. There in Lancaster, greatest gym in the whole wide world. I love it because I go to the 12 o'clock class, and it's some ladies, but some guys. I've gotten to know most of the people in the class fairly well, where we can just talk and laugh and help one another and have a good time and work out and sweat together. And as you're releasing all that sweat and toxins in your body, you're also doing it emotionally and mentally, because you're talking to some people that you have a common goal with. They're right there in the gym with you. You laugh with one another, you poke fun at one another, you encourage one another, you build one another up, you help one another. It's a phenomenal way to get yourself together on so many levels. But men, it's a phenomenal way for you to really find who you are as a man and build upon that. It's a great way. Another way as well, and I want to be careful with this because you have to really find the right people to do this. But you know, go shooting a gun. I mean, you go shoot a gun. A lot of people are like, oh, you shoot a gun. That could be destructive. That could be evil. No, it's not. You're shooting a target, but you're getting better at something. It's something that it's exhilarating and exciting. You're there with some friends. You're building one another up. You're encouraging one another. You're helping one another. It's a phenomenal way to connect with real brothers and real men in growing yourself in your own masculinity. If you're not into that, go find something else. Why do you think a lot of men like golf? Golf is not this super strenuous sport, but it gives you something to become better at. It gives you something that you can talk and chat and laugh with your buddies, your brothers, and you go out there and you build one another up, you strengthen one another. If you're going through something, what a great place to just pour it out to somebody who's out there with the same heart and the same mind as you. That's why even business people know, hey, some of the greatest business ventures have been taken care of on the golf course. It's better than the boardroom. So I'm just giving you some things. Find something that you can connect with other men, true men, and connect with them and talk to them and be there with them and be there for them. That's how you build masculinity. I was even looking at in the Word of God, the Bible. Do you know there's actually passages in the Bible that command men to not wear or dress or act like a woman? And it's usually translated effeminate. Do not wear anything effeminate. Do not act or walk or talk effeminate. In other words, what the Bible itself teaches us, be a man. Be masculine. Do what men do. So anyways, I promised that I'd have my lovely wife sitting here chime in. She's just been looking at me, staring at me, shaking her head in disbelief. Okay, I just made all of that up. But I want to ask my lovely wife and hand the microphone to her. Now, sweetheart, lovely, darling dear, and be honest. We didn't rehearse this, by the way, so I don't know what she's going to say, so I hope she doesn't say anything that burns me. But what is your take on just maybe, what they call toxic masculinity of men? What do you, I almost asked, what do you find attractive, but you might describe somebody else. So let me ask you this. What do most women find attractive in a man? And I'll turn the mic over to her and brace myself.
Well, first of all, I think the difference in what people call quote-unquote toxic masculinity and masculinity is that we tend to go off on extremes, right? The enemy is in the extremes. We went from describing somebody that was abusive or a womanizer, or that was toxic masculinity. That was, or it's in Spanish, machismo. But then we went from that to calling anything that was even manly or masculine toxic by virtue of the fact that it's a man, which is ridiculous. We we call women feminists, but they're all but feminine. It doesn't make sense to me. So the fact that we celebrate our differences, the fact that women should be feminine, and I don't mean, prissy girly, again, the enemy's in extremes, or stereotypical, or, angry women that what I would call toxic femininity is what feminists are, of woman power to the point that we don't need men. That's ridiculous. Why can't we just complement one another? So attractive in either gender, by the way, there's only two, in a man is that he's manly, that he's a protector, that he is masculine, and he has the God-given traits of a man, that he is a leader, that he is strong, that he is protective, and as I heard Victor Marx say, not necessarily nice, but definitely kind. Jesus was strong and determined and a leader, but he was kind. So those are the things that women really want in men. They don't want angry, they don't want domineering, they don't want, as I said earlier, machismo, but definitely a man that knows what he wants, which is also, in my opinion, equally attractive in a woman, that she's feminine, but that she's strong and that she knows her value as a woman and that she knows that she's strong in her femininity and it doesn't take anything away from her, that women can do things that men can't do, like have babies, by the way, no matter what you think, and that men can do what men do, which is protect and lead. Again, we need one another. One is not better than the other. We go together. But the enemy wants to destroy masculinity because those are the warriors, right? Those are the ones that fight. Those are the ones that protect. Those are the ones that, if we can strip that away from them, aren't going to protect children, are going to stand down. And women, we tend to be more on the emotional side of like, oh, well, let's be quote unquote nice. Well, we've let the world go to hell in a handbasket because everybody's afraid to stand up and be the role that they're supposed to be, to play to the strengths that they have. And not everybody looks the same. Not all women look the same. Not all men look the same. And I don't mean just in their physical bodies, but in their characteristics and their makeup. And we all need one another. When we erase either gender for any reason and we're fluid, then really that means that there's literally no structure, and no civilization has ever survived that. There is structure and there is order, and life without that is purely chaos. And what is the enemy? The enemy is the author of chaos and confusion. So God took chaos when he created the world and put it in order, and we're trying to take order and put it into chaos.
Well, thank you, my lovely dear wife. She just threw the microphone at me and went back to what she was doing. As if there is something more important, but it's okay, I still love her. You know, as she was talking, I was sitting here thinking about this, and yeah, you know, the lines have been blurred way too much, too long. What I find extremely refreshing right now is that more and more and more men are starting to wake up. You know, people in general are, but what I really appreciate, men are starting to wake up, because I pointed something out for those of you who are Bible thumpers. I pointed something out in a couple of my sermons recently, and it's in Malachi 4, verses 5 and 6. Malachi chapter 4, verses 5 and 6, and it talks about how when Elijah comes, the spirit of Elijah, he comes, and he's going to restore the hearts of the fathers back to the children, the hearts of the children back to the fathers, lest, it says, and this is God speaking, lest I strike the earth with a curse. Okay, so we have, at least here in America, this whole fatherless not just a generation, several generations now of fatherless young people, and many of them are now adults. And when you do the stats, and you can just do this, you can Google this. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. You can just Google this, you know. Say you Google this, go in there and go stats or statistics of childless homes, or I'm sorry, fatherless homes. And the numbers are there, and numbers don't lie. All the problems that are going on in the home and in the hearts and the minds of our young people simply because fathers aren't around. Okay? And so it shows me just how important men are, fathers especially, and how important in a young person's life a father is. Okay, it's not that moms aren't, but I hate to break it to you, ladies, but the truth is, and the numbers don't lie, that when children are raised by a father only versus mom only, but just by a father only, they're healthier all the way around. They do better in school. Suicide rates are down. Problems with like say drugs, alcohol, all of that stuff much lower than in a single being raised by a single mom. This is just the numbers. I don't make it up. I'm just telling you what it is. So it shows us just how important fathers really are in the home and to their children. And then when you have a home with a mother and father, an intact family, we would call it, the numbers are even lower. Depression, suicide, all of these things much lower. And so it just shows how important men are, but even more important, how important an intact family is. So men are starting to really rise up. They've looked at it, they've seen it, said enough, and they're starting to rise up, which I am so overwhelmed with in a good way. And I appreciate that. More and more men are standing up and doing just like what I'm doing now, putting out videos or podcasts or you know, things of that nature, articles, video clips, all of this stuff, addressing this. And still, many people, you know, we get blasted. We're toxic. We're expressing toxic masculinity. Well, that's okay. I don't even care what people say about me anymore. I don't care. You can call me whatever you want. I've been called so many things. I've even was the last thing I was called along these lines was a speciesist, simply because I tend to believe that human beings are a little bit higher on, you know, than other species. So I'm a speciesist, and that's fine. I don't really even care anymore. I've been called a racist, yet nobody can tell me why I'm a racist. I've been called a misogynist, but nobody can tell me even what a misogynist is, let alone what I'm doing that is misogynistic. I'm transphobic, but nobody can tell me why. So I don't even care anymore, because again, it's weak-minded people that glom onto all of these words and these phrases and these concepts and ideas, twist them to try to stop or shut up people. And then every time I'm called one of these things, you know what it does to me? Number one, I chuckle. I laugh because it's like, really? Oh, okay. I'm a, whatever they just called me, I'm a speciesist. And then it causes me to press in even more, because what that just showed me is I'm hitting some buttons, and I'm really starting to make an impact, because that's usually the last-ditch effort of people that have lost the conversation, lost the debate. So men and women, anybody out there, just normal human beings, listen to me. When they start calling you names, it's not time to shut up and back down. It's time to get louder and push back harder, because they've lost the debate already, and you're making inroads into whatever you're discussing, whatever you're talking about. And men are finally starting to rise up. Men are no longer afraid of being called names. Men are no longer afraid of being marginalized by these wacko groups with a big chip on their shoulder. They've realized, oh, wait, these guys are just a bunch of punks, and they're not really doing anything to harm me. As a matter of fact, them slandering me is actually helping me. And that's the way I look at it. I even get it from Christians. You're a pastor of a church and you talk like this? I thought Christians were supposed to be nice and sweet and just tell the gospel. Well, I am. The gospel means good news. All right? Good news. And when we talk about the good news of Jesus, I'm telling you the good news of Jesus. Because Jesus was a real man. He's the image and the expression of true masculinity. So when men start rising up and being masculine, they're starting to, just by virtue of that, act more like Jesus, who was not a pushover. He called it the way it was. When he was around religious leaders that were acting crazy, he would call them brood of vipers, whitewashed tombs. And for that day, he was practically cursing them. He didn't mess around. When he saw that people were in his father's house, the temple, doing things they shouldn't be doing in there, he made a whip, flipped over their tables, beat a few people, drove them out of there. So when I see men rising up and being men, being protective, start talking about these things and saying enough is enough, they're just being a lot like Jesus. Saved or not, they're being a lot like Jesus. And when they can start making that connection, wait a minute, this is how Jesus was, maybe they'll accept him more. So I'm just giving the good news, just in a different way than what your pastor in the church might give. I'm giving good news. And the good news of this, even the good news of Jesus, the gospel, the good news of Jesus, is that he is beginning to make an impact in a very sneaky way on our culture and society by waking up men to become true men, because that's who he created them to be. So please don't play this religious game with me where you think all Christians are supposed to be soft sissies. If that's the church you want to go to, have at it. Go for it. But not with me and not with my church. We're going to be real men at my church and real women. Well, I'm not going to be a real woman. My wife will be a real woman. And the ladies will be real women at our church. And we have no problem understanding that who the real men are and who the real women are. And there's no thee, they, them, thus, those, thy, thee. Because if you understand the word of God, it was the demon-possessed that had the pronouns of us and them. And there might be a few of us going through some things, but we're not demon-possessed. Anyways, so all the way back to the very first article that I started this with, I read that because, again, men, it is our job to protect those unborn children. It is our job to stand up and say enough is enough. It is our job to not only do what it takes in our own life, in our own home, in our own family, with our wives, or if you're not married yet, your girlfriends and stuff, not to be put in that position at all. You rise up. You stand up. You be the man. You say, I'm not going to touch that woman. I'm going to treat her with great honor, great respect. And when she shares my last name, then we can start making babies. One of the best ways to end abortion completely, one of the best ways to deal with it, is just stop making babies out of wedlock. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So real men will control themselves and say, not until she has my ring on her finger and carries my last name. Just a thought, a good thought, no, a great thought, but still a thought. It's time for us to really start being men again. It's time for the ladies to be truly feminine again, ladies. And it's time for us to even dress and act, walk and talk in such a way that nobody has a problem distinguishing and knowing whether you're a man or a woman. All right? Just those two. Nothing else. There's nothing in between. There's nothing outside of that circle. You're either a man, a biological male, a man, or you're a biological female, a woman. That's it. And anything else, I'm sorry, I do not celebrate or have this celebration of pride for mental illness, because that's what everything else boils down to. So, ladies, gentlemen, friends, family, and foes, love you all. I appreciate you all, and you'll be hearing from us again real soon, I'm sure. Would you like to say goodbye or say something else, Linda?
No, that'll do it. Goodbye.
Woman, a few words until I turn this off and put the mic down. Anyways, God bless you all. We'll be talking very, very soon.
Thank you for joining us at Table Flippers. I truly appreciate you. You can write me at gwccrobert@gmail.com. That's gwccrobert@gmail.com. Please let me know how I'm doing. Remember to pick up some of our merchandise. You can find the link at gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Until next time, be continually blessed.